don't have to worry about.
Unless you want it on.
I don't care.
It's up to you.
Whatever is good. No, we don't need video, I think.
It's up to you.
Now I'm on now? They can hear it?
They can hear you now.
Okay, great. Well, we are preparing here, getting ready to really start our time together. We have some more minutes here. Let's see. How many minutes? Yes, this is Monica Garay-Cochea, but I will introduce myself when we start, no problem. But just to making sure that we are okay, we have 1 more minute here to let people to come in and to really take this space and time to listen and to understand what we are going through. And let's see. Okay, well, it's 6 p.m. right now, so I think it's time to start. We agree?
How many people we got online so far, Monica?
Let's see.
Because we had a bad link, and I just wanted to make sure we're giving everybody a chance to come in.
Yeah, we
got
have
20 so far.
Yeah.
Maybe wait a couple.
Yeah, let's wait a little bit because we have messed up with a link and that we have sent it back. We sent it to all of you, like the new link that works. So maybe some people is taking a little time. Maybe they notice that it's not working when they try to come in. So we just send out another one, new one. Yes. Okay. And more people are coming here. What do you see? No, we see the number. No, 20. That's good. Good. Great. Okay.
Maybe you could tell them why you like the plan.
Yes. So then we start or what? Yes. Let's go and start little by little before we come with the concrete information. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Monica Garay-Cochea, and you can call me Dr. Monica, just to don't pronounce my last name. But I am an owner at OMV and resident right now, full-time resident. And I wanted to start this webinar just to open the space for sharing the gratitude that many people here in Osa Mountain Village we feel for Bob Swanson, for Pat Pryor, and for Dwayne to take the time and have the energy necessary to really start to look what it is that the situation that we are in, and to really look to find solutions that can bring us forward. And that's the intention of all this time together. And with that said, I just would like to open the space right now to bring Bob Swanson in to explain some little things before we bring Dwayne to really check in all the questions, to answer all the questions and talk about the questions that we had all together here. So welcome again, and just let's go for it.
Thank you, Monica. Hello, everybody. This is Bob Swanson. And tonight, what we're trying to go back and do a little bit, I just put up a screen of what we were promised. This is the community that, can everybody hear me? Okay, here we go. So this is the map that when we came in here to buy, that I think everybody thought they were buying into, is this whole phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 encompass this whole map. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just get everybody what they were promised. Now, I also want to go back. I think the biggest thing we had today was Val Smith sent one of the best emails that I've read since I've been living here, to be honest with you. And I just want to go over I just messed up. Anyway, the reason we're here is the original mission statement. I'm losing my track here. The proposal returns our path to the original mission statement, which allows for organic growth of the community through the members of the community. That's the reason I bought down here. This was going to be a sustainable community, and that's what I still think we can get back to. The next thing, I'm working with Dwayne's computer here, so I'm doing, let me see here. So then we're also looking for a community run by community members. That's the next part of our proposal. I think with the guys that are here on the ground, we can do that. We've got some great, smart people working down here, trying to get the community back online, trying to get us back being the responsible, I don't know the right words for it, but just being a community that's run by community members. and that's running the resort. And then we'll have to figure out what the resort is later and how and what you guys bought into as a resort. Anyway, I am going to turn this over to Dwayne because I am not very good at public speaking. But I wanted you to read Val's email. That's the biggest thing here. He hit everything, every part of our proposal. And so we're going to stick with that. Okay, Dwayne. And now we're going to go to the audit, which is very important because I think that the community can run this place so much more effectively than how it's been run over the last few years. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Glad everybody can make it on here tonight. And thank you, Monica, for opening up the evening here. I'm excited to talk about the audit because I think there's a lot of information that the audit shows us that is not always so easy to see. And tonight is really about questions. I'm just going to be posing questions that I think we should all be asking. And so I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen here and give me a moment as I change it over here so you can see the things that I'm going to show you here. And as soon as I get to where I know you're seeing the right stuff. So now I'm going to open it up to chat later on. I'd rather that all of you take questions and write them down as we go if you have them. And I'm really not here to answer questions. I believe that that is what the audit firm should be doing, and that this audit firm, I believe, has done a very good job of what they were hired to do. So one of the first things I want to show you here is exactly what the audit firm was. I just want to repeat this one thing to show you. This is going back to the actual Amelia's report. So this is important to understand. The work of evidence of mismanagement, misappropriation of or misuse of resources in Amelia's South Pacific Dreams. So they really were hired to develop procedures that would allow them to identify of the accounting records of companies in accordance with international financial reporting standards, and if there are substantial errors or omissions that may influence the economic decisions of users of the financial statements, as well as the internal controls for prevention of risks or fraud and verify. Says, given the importance of the discovered omissions, significant weaknesses in internal control, lack of accounting policies, the failure to follow accounting and tax rules, and the carelessness of accounting in general, we conclude that the financial statements as of September 30th, 2012 do not reasonably represent the financial and fiscal situation of the company. At the date of this report, we have not received balances for the year of 2013. So I just, as we start to go through this, that they were hired to put together information in such a way that we could see if there were things going on at anybody and say necessarily that embezzlement or anything else had taken place. That was not what they were hired to do. So let's take a look at the appendices here. We're going to start with.
Let's take a pause for just a second. Your screens get called up. Everybody's saying screens have 15 different things. Pause. make sure your screen
Um,
share is the same.
okay. Handle how fast people's screens clear up. There's nothing that I can do about that. So if people's screens aren't moved, they should. I apologize. It's actually just internet, and I can't do anything about that. So I apologize about that. This is the OMV appendices that are detailing the construction that has been done up here on the mountain. And this is one of the first things that I had questions about, as I had a phone call with Gary Morrison, who built 24 of the 25 villas that are up here on the mountain, to confirm a few things that I was questioning on here. And the first question up to this point, now you have to remember this is September 30th of 2012. There were still a few people who probably, but the thing that caught me here was this total price of $5,223,000 here on the mountain. And that actually equates to $208,931 per building. That's an excessive amount of money for what we had here. This is actually broken down by villa, $121,000 per villa built. And I want to bring your attention to a document that was given out at the shareholder meeting held in 2011 in April. Right after I moved here, we had a shareholder meeting on the mountain. And this is the document that was costs. I'll bring this up here to show you what it shows here. Hopefully everybody's computer will catch up to see that Gary quoted and built all of the streets and the drainage and the sidewalks and things up here for $751,865. The third sheet in this actually was the that were made, and I plugged in the correct numbers here of actually what we built. It came with estimates of what they anticipated we would build, but I plugged in the correct numbers. So this is the 25 total buildings, and these formulas double price. This price comes out to. And if you add up all of the different villas that we have built here on the mountain, or that OMV and Amelia's have built, the 25 villas, including Gary's fees to build them, he had a deal where he was doing cost plus 15%. He got to make 15% on everything that he bought, and he had quoted these prices for everything that we were building up here, and it came to $3,409,065 if you round it off there. So I bring your attention to that because that is what every villa on this mountain cost to build, were those figures right there. I have verified that with Gary just yesterday. So now moving on to this, what I did was I took three figures on here that to me looked really excessive, and I'll show you why they looked high to me, and this is why I'm questioning them. Legal and professional fees for 2 years' time was $823,919. Then there was another for professional fees for $387,400, and there was another fee called technical direction for $349,118. Now, Gary told me that he believed Condeco had a deal where they were being paid a technical direction fee, which was $5,000 a month, and he said it was for about $125,000 for 2 years. And that was the only thing he knew. These other fees, he was unaware they were here on the report. So I pulled those out, and I took them and I averaged out how much it comes to per villa and how much it came to per building, and also how much those fees equated to on a per month basis. And it equated to $75,000 per month that we were paying something or somebody for fees, just fees. Not sure what they were for, but it came to $1.8 million in fees that I thought didn't belong in this column of cost. Now, what was really interesting is when I took those fees out and I totaled everything that was left over, it came to $3,409,165. $100 of the exact quote to build all 25 buildings that we have here on the mountain. So my question is, what is the $1.8 million in fees for? Because it actually sounds to me like that is the amount that we had intended to make in profit on each villa, approximately $40,000 to $45,000 per villa in profit was what we all anticipated. So that's my first question that I think we need to have the auditors look at is, who was receiving all of this fee money and technical direction? I'd like to go to another appendix here that's very important as well. According to the accounting records, you can see here every villa that was to all the people. 56, number 56, there's Bob Swanson, who bought 2 villas. My down payment for my business rights is in here, which was also down here. I have my villa is in here for $130,000 right here. Villa sale that was over as far as contracts to the audit company. And you see it says $6,843,302. If I go to the next one, there was one that was added in that they had forgotten on that sheet. I want to just point this out. It was $6,989,000 because one of the people on here actually did buy 2 villas. Mr. Kenneth Woods is on here with 2 villas, and on the other sheet it did not show that he had the 2 villas. I believe that it seemed that that's the one that was not on here. So we made $6,900,000 and something in sales, and according to the accounting records, $5,445,000 of that has been collected. That amount is just a little bit over the amount that they say right here that it costs to build everything, including all of those fees. Now, I want to go to the next index because this one here is the of the $6,989,000 for all of the villas that were sold. And by the way, there's something that I found here or didn't find on here that I was interesting is there's 2 villas that we sold. They were exchanges for share sales or something. So that would be something I have a question about too, on how that those transactions took place and why their dollar amounts for their share sales don't show up in here. But besides those 2 sales, the $6,989,000 that we did in sales of villas, it says according to the bank statements and the audit company, all bank statements received and applied them to each of the different accounts, and it came to only receiving $4,497,000 for $97,889 there. So that left a receivable balance, according to bank statement, the actual sales price of $2,491,000. Now, I assume that there's still people who are paying off part of their prices for their villas. So this would this number will probably go according to the account balance showed only $874,789 in receivables when the receivables balance should have shown $2,491,713, a difference of $1.6 million. Now, that is really interesting to me because that's kind of like saying the money evaporated in air, because these people have been paying their villas down and they made the payments, which is why the receivable balance has shown that it is high as what it shows according to bank records. So what that means to me is that it looks like payments are being made and being deducted in the accounting records, but the money for some reason did not make it up into the bank account that the audit company was auditing, the Amelia's SRL bank account. So that number, 1,616,900, other number, I think we should be having some big questions about and looking into. Sheet, there was just a couple of things that still stuck out at me, which were the fees that I mentioned earlier. But this also really grabbed my attention, and it was this debt of liability that it says right here is owed to Amelia's South Pacific Dreams SA. And my question is, why do we have debt to this company that is supposed to be a defunct company? Amelia South Pacific Dreams SA is the company that was in existence from 2005 until 2008. It is the company that was converted to Amelia's South Pacific Dreams SRL, which is the company that all shareholders bought into. So my question is, why do we have debt to a company that is supposed to be a defunct company? As far as I was under the impression, this company was dissolved. All the shareholders got shares in the new company as they dissolved this company, and I would have assumed accounts and things would have been dissolved as well. So I find that another question that we should look into. I don't want to comment on these last two pages. They're just the income statements and things, and I don't think they show a whole lot of question stuff that we need to be looking into. Beginning appendixes do have some other stuff that if we wanted to get into it, there's a lot of stuff that shows loans and lots of documentation. Literally into the millions, 450,000 a year, 481,000 the next year, $1.6 million in deposits that were not actually recorded as transactions in the accounting books. They didn't have supporting documentation. So, Jim is right when he says there was a lot of bad accounting. True. However, I believe that this shows a lot more than only bad accounting as we get into this now. So that is the OMV appendices. What I'm going to do now is go over to the Amelia's appendices and show you some interesting things over there in that one. And I added all my own notes there into these things, which is that stuff. Now I'm going to open this one up to a full screen so you can hopefully all see everything that I want to see here. And this particular appendix, well, first let's go to the beginning of this one, because this is a more interesting one than the other ones in some ways. These starting in 131,000 that year, 36,000 the next year, 168,000 the next year, 7,000 that year, 207,000 the next year, 372,000 the year after that, and the final subtotal from 2006 to 2012 equated to $1.29 million, $1,290,717 of checks that were written to, and in almost every case, no as to what that check was written for. Now, I'm not saying that $1.2 million is a lot. That equates to $184,000 per year, which broken down by the day is $500 a day that was getting written out in checks to not indicated for reasons not indicated. That is something I think might need some looking into as well. Although if the audit company has not been able to get that data, I don't know how we could possibly get that data with even further research. Perhaps there's something there to be seen. So now I'm going to go back to this first appendix and relate this in a little bit. This is the original stockholders' equity that was put into Amelia's by the original people that bought those first sets of shares when the company had been and some of these came forward from the old company, some of them came in as brand new. The total that was put into the company was $957,760 by these people. And this includes Jim and Dan Lutz and Chad Dolly and Nick Halverson and a bunch of different people. And so I'm going to come back at 957 here in just a little bit. There's some other things in here that are interesting. I'm not going to dwell on them. Why Laura has all the checks to skip goes to her, I don't know, but it is something that was happening. I don't know if it means anything or not. The appendix that I want to get to here first is this one. This is the appendix that is for all of the lot sales that happened on the project. And these were all sold through Amelia's. What Jim had done is he separated OMV out and he sold villas through OMV, and the lots were sold through the Amelia's of the company. And when I was first looking at this, I was looking at it and I saw this down here. It wasn't highlighted in red, but I saw this one little bit of other information that said the seller in the agreements is Amelia Pacific Dreams Limitada, but the purchaser is sometimes instructed to make a transfer to Amelia's South Pacific Dreams Sociedad Anónima. Again, another SRL over here. The company that is actually listed as the seller, the Limitada, is the SRL, and people are being told to pay the SA company. And when I got this spreadsheet, and if you go and look at your own spreadsheet, you'll notice that this column K is hidden. It was hidden by the audit company because they didn't really think this had a lot of meaning and that it wasn't important. However, I find it to be probably the most important page in the whole audit, at least from questions, because as I started to go through this, I was blown away by, excuse me, move this. I've got to make this a little smaller here. There we go. There's little red dots here that when I put it on, it popped up a little cursor, a little box that had some explanation to stuff, and it said, balance to be placed in escrow, but no bank account information was given. The one underneath it said the same thing, no bank account information was given. The next one showed a payment that went to Amelia South Pacific Dreams SA. And then down below that one, it showed no bank account information given again. And the next one was no bank account information given. And then another one that mentioned the Amelia's SA company. So I started to highlight all of these. They weren't color coded when I got the spreadsheet, but I highlighted them and I listed all the ones that went to either bank accounts that there was no indication of who the bank account, where it went, and ones that were to bank accounts that were not Amelia's South Pacific Dreams SRL. This one here to Paradise Real Estate Industries SA. And so the green ones on here are the ones that went to the correct company, Amelia South Pacific Dreams Limitada, Amelia South Pacific Dreams Limitada. This particular one, it looks to me like they tracked 4 payments to pay this in full, or at least pay the accounting amount here. The ones that look like people were making single payments, it looks like almost all of them went to the Amelia South Pacific Dreams SA account instead. So I highlighted all of those so that I could see, you know, how many looked like they were going to the right company and how many were going to incorrect bank accounts or companies. So down here on the bottom are the summaries, and the right side is the important side. Payment went to Amelia's SRL, the correct company. Here it shows 1.2 million of the 3,436,000 that ended up in the correct bank account. It also shows 220,000 of payments that went to Dwayne Halverson or Amelia's SRL as an option. So those are these 2 pink ones up here that say either Amelia's SRL or Dwayne Halverson's address. And then to unidentified bank accounts, which are mostly, by the way, clustered around ones that were Sociedad Anónima early on in the sales of the company. You can see here that 956,000 went to those kind of bank accounts, and 938,500 went to the Amelia's SA, the incorrect Amelia's company that I thought was a closed company. One that went here to the other one, and I just totaled them into what went to the correct bank accounts, 1,431,000, and what went to wrong or unidentified bank accounts, for the moment unidentified, 2,005,000. So to me, that's an incredible amount of money that seems to not be making it into the correct bank account. And, you know, I think we need to ask that question of why are we using an Amelia's SA bank account? Why do we have a loan due for $1 million to an Amelia's SA when this is a company that I thought was completely gone and no longer existed here? Now, that actually brings me back to the spreadsheet we were just looking at a moment ago that showed the payments that were missing, that the bank statement showed that we only had 4,400,000 come in, yet the receivables showed that 1.6 million additional payments had been deducted because of the difference between what the receivables should show and what the accounting records were showing. So that could answer why 1.6 million has disappeared there. People made $1.6 million in payments, and they may have made them to the wrong Amelia's accounts unknowingly. You know, hopefully we'll find out there's an Amelia's bank account out there with $3 million in it that nobody knows about. That would be really fun. Somehow I don't think that's going to be what we find out, though. So now the next thing that I want to show you on this is this final page here, which kind of brings all this stuff together. And this is the page that the comparison of percentages of stock ownership per the accounting regs versus certification by the lawyer. And I already, right when I first started looking at this, I knew there were incorrect amounts for certain shareholders, myself being one of them. We own 6 shares and it shows us with 2. And certain other people on here I knew had different amounts of shares as well. But this is the 957,000 from the very first page that I was talking about. That was the amount of shareholder equity that had been paid into the company back in 2008 to launch the company, I guess you could say. There were also a bunch of shares that had not yet been sold that were to be sold from the company. So now, if you take those same people that are on the list that were the 957, they're still around. And if you go up here, and they're the people that are in green on here, and you total up their equity now, it actually shows as $812,245. There's $145,000 less, according to the audit, in their equity. It's, again, it's like it evaporated into thin air or something. Somehow these people's investments have diminished. And then there's another appendix, which is the next one after this, which actually shows all of the shares that were resales that Jim sold. I added my share sales on here because he didn't have any of my shares sales. They didn't even turn in the contracts that were the share sales for me and my wife. And we totaled all those up. It came $988,500. And I put that over here, minus one person, because there's one person that doesn't show up on this list. His name was Mike Barber. So the minus that person, it was $988,500. It was $961. But the total up here above of equity those people now hold, even though they paid in $961,000, is down to $744,000 in total share equity. So that came to a difference of $216,000. So I know from working on the sales team for 4 years that we paid a 10% commission on those share resales, and that equated to a total of $96,000 there. So what I did is I subtracted the commissions that would have been paid to see what would be left, and there was still $120,000 of difference that was not accounted for, that sort of evaporated again into thin air in terms of equity if people put money into the company. So this amount right here, this 1.7 million, is the total of that first appendix that shows the 957, and it shows the shareholders from the last appendix, H, with the 980, and that comes to actually 1,726,000 here. Now this number 145 and 120 I have added here to and call this Appendix G. This is an Amelia's questionable amount that I think we should ask more questions about. Appendix E is the 2,005,000 that looks like it went to bank accounts that we need to research why they went to the wrong bank accounts. The other side here is the OMV side. This is the 1.6 million that looks like it could have had the same problem, that people made payments and it didn't get credited to the correct Amelia's account. It went to the incorrect one. And this is the 1.8 million that I believe we need to research as fees and see who we were paying $75,000 a month every month for 24 months. Because that's a lot of money per month for somebody to get for fees. If you total up those two sides together and put them here, you've got $5,701,951 of questionable money that we need to be looking at. That actually equates to, on a per share basis, $28,500 per share if that money turned out to be some money that was really due to shareholders. Now, I want to go here and show you a couple of things about why this all is very significant. We, according to this Villa report, sold $6,989,602 of villas, and that didn't include probably 2 villas that were sold to Dan Lutz and Chad Dolly, as I said. But just using this number alone, and all of the Amelia's total sales by contract, Appendix E, this is all the sales, you come to $10,425,703. If you add in the $1,726,884 that was given to Amelia's by shareholders as an investment, you come to a total of $12,152,587 that was given to Amelia's from the 3 different kinds of people who bought here: shareholders, lot owners, and villa buyers. And now I'd like to use that number and start deducting things that we have spent money on. And by the way, I went over this again with Gary Morris, the builder, and asked him what he thought the profit should be on the project. And I believe these numbers, after talking to him, are right in line. He was within literally a few $1,000s of the numbers that we came up with here. So taking the $12,152,587 and deducting the cost of all the villas that were built, $3,409,165, deducting the total infrastructure cost that he charged to build the streets and the drainage and the sidewalks and the roads and everything else, taking out the pool, bar, and community center. And at the time he didn't have his records, he said that he thought the $300,000 is included in the $3.4 million up here. Jim had told me he paid $300,000, so I'm actually including it here. It may actually be that we didn't have this expense, but I'm throwing it in as a benefit of the doubt. Anyways, we have Amelia's salaries, which really was just Eric and Jim all along, which is $150,000 that I've put in here. Commissions that were paid on all sales that were made, deducted that from there. The dividend that we paid to all the shareholders, that's in here. And what you're left with after all of that, because that really covers everything. Other spreadsheets had expenses for other employees and workers and things like that. So there's not a lot. Plus, this does not include all money that was taken in from the resort, the restaurant, the bar, or from any of the community members paying their monthly dues. This is completely separate from all of that. That is another company that handled all those things. So this is pretty close to the true numbers, and Gary Morris was in agreement with me on that. So the difference here between the amount that we think needs to be looked into as far as money that looks like it needs research is almost the same amount of money that shows that we believe should have been gross profit of Amelia's and OMV, which basically also equals the promised profit that us shareholders were told this development would generate by this point of the project. If you're like me and you heard 12 to $15 million, some people even heard higher numbers than that, but I believe most people heard that the projected profit was 12 to 15 million, and it was basically 6 million from the condo hotel section that was proposed for phase 2, and it was 6 million for all of the other areas on the project. So because these numbers come so close to each other, and they I believe need further research, I think us shareholders need to demand going forward that we get the questions to these things answered before we make any other kinds of decisions up here. We need to know what happened to $2 million that went to what seems to be incorrect bank accounts, and who got paid fees, and this other 1.6 had the same problem. So now I'm going to close this down, and let's see if we can open up chat. I think the okay, I'm going to turn it over to Monica here for 1 second. I'm going to stop the sharing of my desktop, but let me give it to Monica.
Yes. Wow. Well, just before we go to the next step, I would like to acknowledge Dwayne for his capacity with numbers. I always saw him as a genius, difficult to reach, but in some way I love that we have someone that has the view and the capacity to see these kind of numbers and things like that. So I want to say thank you to you, Dwayne, for that. And big thank you also to Bob and Pat Pryor again, because these 3 people are the ones that has the energy to really move this forward in any way, so we can get clarity and we can start from there. And with this gratitude, I would like to go back to you and to really see the answers that we have for the questions that we have sent out. So thank you again, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so I just enabled the chat, so it should start to work now. However, I want you to know that I'm not here to answer questions, really. I'm here to hopefully compile the list of questions that we get the auditor to be answering for us. I don't want to come across as being the authority on this audit. I'm only speaking about things that, after being here from the very, very beginning, that look to me like things we need to look further into. And based on the fact that the audit was really done to identify things that could be questionable areas, that's really what their purpose was, to point out to us things that we can then maybe go further and get the full answers to the questions that we have. Incidentally, I think it is kind of interesting. Bob Swanson had a conversation today with Jim about this whole moving forward plan and stuff. And Jim admitted he had not read the audit or looked at any pages of the appendixes. He knows nothing about what it says a week after it's been out. I thought that was kind of another interesting thing. But so let's see here what the question is. Did the audit company audit the Amelia's SA Corp? No, I do not believe so. It looked to me like the SRL is the only corp that has been audited here. Where would the salaries for gardener security, maintenance, etc. be shown? That is stuff they kept in their other company, which you should have gotten some documents today about the community expenses and things from Eric. Sorry, I know, Shar, that's probably your own internet up here. It's just is what it is. I'm actually using a headset tonight, so it's probably better than usual. You know what? I mean, Bob and I have talked about that, and he might be able to tell you better because he's had businesses, and they say they're threatening that the government could step in, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. Why are there so many corporations? Why SA Corp versus SRL? Well, that's how they started. They started as an SA and they converted it to an SRL. Why it's still in operation when it supposedly has been closed down, and why money is still being sent to it is the question we need to find out. Dan, if you're Dan Allen, you don't have shares in Amelia's. Oh, Dan Lutz. Yeah, I don't understand your share thing either, Dan. I was trying to figure it out. I thought you sold 6 shares for your villa and that you started with 20 and that you should have 14. So I have no idea how that is. I'm actually trying to get Juan Pablo to sit down with me and show me all of the share trails for every share that by number of who had what. I don't think that's going to be any small task, though. Yeah, Mary, well, that's what I'm talking about equity disappearing. You paid 22.5, and on the one page it shows you paid 22.5, yet on that other page it shows you as 21,000. Glenn Stockton, it shows on one page as having paid $60,000 for 2 shares, and on that page that showed the current equity, his showed at 19. It showed that for some reason $41,000 of his 60 has disappeared in terms of equity, showing in the company records. Well, Paul, I can't answer that question at all. If the money went to that bank account and nobody knew that bank account was there and it's just been accumulating money all this time, I find that hard to believe that we're sitting here thinking we're totally broke and that we got $3+ million sitting in an Amelia's SA bank account somewhere. But that's what I said earlier, that, you know, wouldn't that be the joke that we suddenly go, oh my God, look, there's a bank account where the money was going and nobody knew it. I find it hard to believe, but if that happens, that would be wonderful. We'd be able to do a lot of things with that $3 million. Yeah, well, a lot of people are missing paperwork. Yeah, Harold, that was the page on the Amelia's that I showed that had sales to lot owners. I'm pretty sure you were on there. Yeah. Have no idea, Joe, about that. Lot 4, where did that money go? Old account. You know, if you have a copy of the audit report and you go through it and you find discrepancies from your own particular transactions, that will help clarify things. The more information that we have to work with, the better. You know, for the audit firm, there's the records were not good, as the audit company spoke about. Can we investigate that bank account? Of course, that's what we want to get the audit firm to continue doing. And I think that Andrea's bank account should be opened up, because there were a payment at one time made to Andrea's account when Bob Swanson was buying his villa. I think any account that anybody ever wrote a check to should be looked at and audited, and we should see what has ever happened. This is a lot of money. This is a lot of money that we don't know what truly transpired. Let's see here. Do we not have the count info? Can the community demand that current management completely step down immediately? You're asking questions I have no idea about the answer to. We could all ask that. Whether they do it or not is a good question. New management would not open themselves to the liability of the old one. Careful. Has anyone looked at the legal books of Amelia's SA? Can it be confirmed via the National Register that this corp does or does not exist? The corp exists. I've seen it on there. I know that for sure. Can JP confirm this prior to the Amelia's Corp shareholder meeting? Well, we don't need to. I've already seen it. Look it up in the registry, and you look up Amelia South Pacific Dreams, and you'll get both companies to pull up, and they're both still listed as active corporations. To clarify, the $130,000 IOMV on my 250 villa in phase 2 is payable when and if I'm ready to build it according to my contract. What bank is that account at? Good question. Don't know. I was never around at that time. You have to understand that the conversion happened in 2008. We bought our shares when we first met Jim here in 2009, and then more in 2010. So we weren't around when all these things took place. That's a good question. I have not looked up who the board members are of the SA. So these are all great questions that I think everybody should type up and send in, that we can give directly to the auditor. I will keep this chat to pull out the questions from it. It automatically saves my chat in this program. Let's see here. It seems clear that there should be more digging and fact-finding regarding these balances to address a more pressing concern. We are being asked to pitch into the call for cash to help fund the day-to-day operations of the community. I'm concerned about services not being paid for that are essential, maintenance, electricity, security, etc. I'd like to get a consensus about that ASAP as well. We would too, and of course, our plan is to move the entire place forward. The immediate emergency still exists, although that, when we were coming up with the plan, was not part of our thought process because we didn't know it existed. It was basically a secret until suddenly we were $500,000 in debt. Can we find out if there are tax implications for us, all shareholders? Well, I would believe that the tax implications would be to Amelia's shareholders, if there are any. Maybe there are to OMV too. I guess that's something that we would have to look into, but I believe most tax implications would fall on Amelia's if there are any. What can we do to move the previous plan you presented forward ASAP? Well, everybody needs to at least send in something that says they're supporting it so that we can show the number of people out there that are truly wanting to support this and move forward with the separation of the two companies. The reason I came up with this plan with Bob and now with Pat helping too is because I wanted to give everybody what they were promised when they bought here, no matter what they bought. And I was promised a return on my investment and a residual income for the future that would go on from the resort. That's what I was promised, and I believe that's what everybody who bought shares was basically promised. Villa owners and lot owners were bought into a sustainable community, and they wanted to have a small resort aspect to it. That's why we picked this particular place and not just a farm that had no other aspects to it. So we want to see the resort thrive, and we want to see the people here that came here to operate businesses be able to continue doing that. So we want to give everybody what they bought into as best that we can. And for Amelia's, for me, this was a 5-year plan, a 3 to 5 year plan, and I'm up to 4 years going into the 5th year coming up here soon. So I would like to see within the next year to year and a half, Amelia's basically resolving what it had come here to do, which was to sell out the resort and to then have a residual income going on and nothing left. And I believe right now, because of the conflicts we've been faced with in so many ways, that the best thing is for us to separate the two, have a quick liquidation of assets the best way that we can without a pie-in-the-sky dream of millions of dollars where we have to continue to be in a building business, especially after you see what has already happened with money in the audit there. Do we really want to continue on that kind of a path? So selling out the 30 lots or so that we have left should generate enough sales to pay everybody back what they put in and possibly even a small profit. And then whatever happens with the Tribune lawsuit that somebody's talking about, I find it funny in Jim's video that he mentioned only $900,000, yet in one of his emails to me a year ago, he was talking $2.4 million in that email that they felt they were going to get. But that's what Gary still believes will be 2.4 or more, and that we should end up with about half of that approximately. So if that is the case, we should all end up as shareholders with a little bit of residual every year, a few $100s, maybe more. Once the resort is thriving and the community takes over and we all get this place really rocking and rolling, then every shareholder will have a little bit of money every year from that. We've talked about giving the free week to shareholders. That I think is a little perk that will be just for the shareholders. It is not to be traded, used, sold, or anything else. And then the other things that we promised everybody. So anyways, that is the plan. I see we're getting close to an hour here. Let's see. I propose that people use my topic in the Google groups. We loved your thing there, Val. Let me see if there's anything else on here that I've missed. Let's see here. Stated that 12,000 was owed in salaries. That's very possible. I don't know about all the salaries and stuff. I sent to Bob Swan. Eric copied you. You need to be a proxy at the meeting tomorrow. The plan you forwarded. Do you have? That's true. Villa owners did buy in early to hopefully get a profit later, but that really is dictated more by market than anything else. And hopefully we can, make our place more attractive and get our investments back for those who bought to hopefully sell at a profit later. How are votes tallied at the shareholder meeting by shares owned? Good question. I'll try to find that out tomorrow. I'm questioning everything since I don't even think they have the correct share ownership there. Let's see. Have any core shareholders stepped up to take the lead positions from the current managers? No, but Bob and I have said we'll take over manager and sub-manager positions if there needs to be one. We should demand that anyone found responsible for this fiasco be personally responsible, not just to walk away and resign. I totally agree. Create a new poll topic to vote on. Plan. Is this webinar being recorded? Yes, it is. The webinar is recorded. I mean to vote. So what happens for tomorrow's presentation? Also demand the old management is not selling anything going forward. We don't know what they're going to do to promise to new buyers. I'm in agreement with that too. I think Bob is a tremendous salesman. We can all up here. Moises is still here if he helps with the new thing going forward. He's very good, can help with that too. Is it reasonable for Jim to be allowed to vote given all the outstanding questions? Personally, I would say no, but I don't know how we'll fight that. But that would be my what I would say. Need a new sales team. I agree too, Gian. As evidenced by later Villa sales, the higher prices were being paid, not just a promise, it was happening. Sad the managers are not on tonight. Why? Thank you, Dwayne, for your expertise in this matter. Do you have your plan published in a written form? I have not seen that. We're still working on that, and one of the things we've realized is that there's a lot of talented people here who want to share in that, and we want to focus on getting the separation happened and keeping things simple until we get into those details once we've actually got it and we know what we've got. Because at the moment, we're still trying to figure out, are we going to get all 4 phases? Are they going to try to force us to take phase 1? We're trying to not accept phase 1 unless they give it over to us with all water rights to everybody and all the lots. Otherwise, we're willing to take all 4 phases now and work on getting those rights ourselves if they're willing to work that route. It's sort of like a trade-off deal we're trying to work on. So does Jim still own shares in Amelia's? Yes, we're trying to figure out how many. It looks kind of weird how all the share sales took place, but we believe he still owns quite a few. Jim claims he's a majority shareholder, but he has never produced a shareholder list. Is our lot in one of the phases? No, your lot is on the hillside. It's not considered one of the phases, but our plan brings everybody on the hillside in as a common area owner. So it wouldn't have mattered if you bought in phase 1, 2, 3, or 4. It would have just mattered that you bought up here with an intention of buying into Osa Mountain Village, period. I would suggest that any sale, Villa share or lots that were purchased be proven. For example, if Jim Gale does not show he owns and paid for a villa or share, he does not get to vote and or stay in a villa for free. Okay, keep fact finding and strategizing. Thank you, Cordell. Each of us needs to spread the word, talk to others, and tell them to educate themselves. It is time. I will be sending out the list here to everybody that will have the webinar link on it once it's done here. And hopefully you can tell some other shareholders and share it, and we can get more people to see this. I'm actually a little disappointed at the total number of shareholders that are on tonight. I find it interesting. People are so apathetic about their investment at this point. And management not being on here, obviously. But last time management was more disruptive than anything else. So for that reason, I guess it wasn't so bad. Webinar link include in the appendixes. Everybody should have those things already. They were sent out on the Google Groups, any of the appendices to look at. I don't have the color-coded ones that I've done with all my notes in them. I haven't made those available. I don't know if I should at this point. I think I'll keep those, but you can certainly go through and find all the information yourself. Just remember on that one appendix to open up the hidden columns. You have to unhide them, and then you'll be able to see some of that information. Yes, I agree. Will your webinar link, let's see, please be careful as now it seems to be you who have our money in your hands. No, I don't have the money in my hands. I'm far from it. I wish I did.
And the balance of the checking account right now is $340. This is what Eric sent out.
Oh my, yeah, we got $340 in the account now. Isn't that wonderful? So, okay, well, I thank everybody for being on tonight. And thank you, Bob and Pat, for all the help, and Monica too, and Arnie for lots of feedback, and my wife also constantly giving me feedback too about how to present this better. Great fact finding, all and detailed analysis. Can we do this webinar again? Difficult to hear and see. We can try again. Hopefully, if you listen to it a couple times, maybe it'll come through. It's just, it is the internet up here. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. When you go an hour straight, there's little breaks occasionally. I don't know what docs are missing. You'll be able to watch it. It doesn't have a transcript. The chat, I'll type the chat transcript. I'll make that available so people can look at the chat. Yeah, they're all on the Google group. Everybody should have got them there. Appendix for Amelia's is missing. I don't know what that is. Well, check the Google groups, Mary, if you're not a member, or email me separately and I'll just go ahead and send it back to you. How do you expose Colonel K? Good question. I believe we all have to come together, which is why it's so important that we all unite right now, because he doesn't want to make anything up here easy for anybody. And so we need to unite and move forward that way. The old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. And it's true. We can't be divided here. Val is talking physically on the spreadsheet. No, could be. Column K hidden in the audit spreadsheet. Oh, well, to expose it, you actually have to go up and highlight the entire row of all the letters, and you have to find the little button up above that actually says unhide columns. And that'll show you how to okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And then send your questions in so that we can compile them and get them to the auditor. We'll get them back to Jerry Colas and Bob Bushkemper to forward on. Any other ones that anybody has?
Thank you.
The monthly amount needed to run Toucan Meadows was about 12 grand. It is less now that so many have been laid off. Our fees going up by 25%. Well, that's what they say. I don't know. I think we can run the community for less than they have been saying. And Bob thinks so too after looking at all the numbers. Thank you all who attended tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome.